discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, this video is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering you a free audiobook with a 30-day free trial membership. All you need to do is go to audibletrial.com/BG Unlocked. The link is in the description below, and now enjoy the video. Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are doing our top 5 expansions from 2019, surprisingly a light year for expansions. Like yes. I thought, or maybe I don't know, because like we just went over like the whole decade. Like I felt like there were a lot of expansions back then, but
well, and a lot of the expansions I noticed in this year were like just really like micro expansions.
Yeah,
which I didn't really feel like. They made the list like Sorcerer, all those little packed expansions, but
I don't count those. Right. Like basically the way I made my list and like how like radically different it affected the base game, and also by how much I like the expansion. So, I mean, all mine are kind of big box expansions, and I mean, here's the other thing though is there were a lot of Kickstarters this year that the Wave 1 or base game got delivered and expansions are coming later. Right. So it'll be an interesting list, but we're only doing the 5 just because I mean I don't really see a reason to do 10.
Right.
So with that being said, you can go ahead and get started.
All right, perfect. All right, my number 5 is was a new expansion for a Kickstarter that just got delivered. Maybe 2 weeks ago. It's a second edition Kickstarter.
Okay.
This wasn't part of the first edition, but it's a new one that came out through Stretch Goals. It's DDay Dice.
Okay.
Way to Hell.
Okay.
Is what it's called. They had the Atlantic Wall and all that stuff with the first edition. This one is unique because it brings in. Do you know anything about DDay Dice?
Nope. Nope. Right. Only way you've talked about.
DDay Dice is pretty much, it's a solo or maybe 2-player dice game where you lay a board that like shows the beach or a battlefield, and you have dice that you're moving along and trying to do an objective, and they're based on actual military missions.
Gotcha. All right.
But what this brings in is this is the first naval. So this brings in
I see.
Like this actually. So if you wanted to do like Omaha Beach D-Day, this brings in the boats leading up to the beach.
Okay.
Or there's other nautical missions.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So it makes the battles more grandiose other than just being the little board that you're battling on. This one's actually going into the leading into the battle, or they bring in the actual naval battles of World War II. Yeah. And it was something. It was neat. I mean, people had been clamoring for water missions for a long time.
Right.
So yeah. I mean, that's really it. Just boat stuff.
Good deal. Do you think we will have any crossover? I really don't think so. I don't think so. Because I think 3 of the games I have on here, I know for sure you probably haven't played. So.
Yeah, but the one that could possibly be a crossover you haven't played yet.
Okay. So my number 5 actually just snuck up onto the list. When I was writing this down, I was like, initially I had the Seasons of Inish expansion for Inish, but as I was really thinking about it, like the expansion that did take over as my number 5, I really do think it drastically changed the game enough, like that I think it added the game, gave the game a lot of freshness, and that's the Turmoil expansion to Terraforming Mars.
I haven't played that one yet.
Gotcha. So that one basically added politics to the game. Not really, but like
gonna build a wall on Mars.
Yeah, just like we gotta divide it. No, it's kind of like you have these different, not really, it's not politics groups, so that was the wrong word, but essentially these activist groups that are all, they all have like their own agenda that they want to do and special ability, and they have like a plan. So whoever has the most people in their group is the one in charge, and they have like the head person. So then they have like an ability that's affecting the whole game. But also there's a new phase that one actually got added from the Venus expansion, and now so then their ability will go off, and you have multiple ways to get points. So it's really cool because one, it makes it thematic. Like, you have the go green people, and you get like money each time you place a forest, and then they have like another group that is like they're all about keeping Mars pure. So every time you try to terraform it, you actually have to pay to terraform it.
So it adds that extra layer in there.
Yeah, and it's the most complex because I just did a run through for Terraforming Mars, and I did it with the Elysium board. I did it with the Colonies expansion, the Turmoil expansion, and Prelude. The only expansion I did not play with was the Venus. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't... The expansion, I don't feel, works as well solo because it's you trying to, like, gain control with like, an AI, almost. But I can definitely see how fun it would be with multiple people, like, sending their own guys because they want... Oh, well, I want the activists, the go green people to be in charge. But there's another one called, I think they're called the Kevlars, that you get money based off your heat rating. So it's like, I was definitely going more heat strategy, so I was getting like a shit ton of money when they were in charge. So you have a lot of vying for control. I think out of all of the expansions, it definitely changes the game the most. Like, so, and it's like almost its own mini game in and of itself. So I thought that was pretty cool. I think the Seasons of Inish is probably the better expansion for Inish, but Turmoil was so drastically different to Terraforming Mars. Is it needed? No, but I will say also I got the Kickstarter expansion that has the dual layer boards, which do not come retail. So I found out, and I was like, well, that's shitty, but not for me because I backed it on Kickstarter. So that's my number 5, Turmoil for Terraforming Mars.
Oh man, I'm sure that would have made my list too if I would have played it.
Well, maybe you should.
My number 4 is I haven't played this expansion a ton, but it's to one of my favorite games of 2018 that I just played this year.
Okay.
And that's Vindication.
Okay.
Leaders and Alliances.
Okay, so you have played that.
Right. Pretty much, this kind of goes with what you said with it. It's not necessarily needed. Like, this isn't like a huge expansion when it comes to it, but what it does is it lets you, you can, well, obviously, leaders and alliances, so you're forming alliances.
Yeah.
You're also trying to gain good rapport with the leaders.
Okay.
And it just lets you do more stuff. There's monuments that you can build for each faction, each of the 6 factions.
Okay.
And that kind of messes with the area control of the board a little bit more.
Interesting.
Because I can't wait for you to play the game.
I know it's over there. I'll probably try to play it tomorrow
because it's a really good game.
Yeah.
Just by itself.
Yeah.
Without the expansion even. But the area control is really tight, and then when you start building the monuments, at least in the couple of times I played the expansion, it really gets it hammered in there.
Okay.
It comes with some extra dice that do a little bit of different stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it expands it to more players.
I think you're right.
I believe.
I literally have it right over there, but I do think you're right. Because it's 1 to 4. I think it makes it 5 to 6. 5 to 6. 1 to 6.
Yeah, it does something. I can't remember exactly. They call it the first expansion for Vindication. I haven't seen anything else. I'm kind of hoping that they come out. I want more of a...
Well, Orange Nebula, right? That's the name. They're on Kickstarter again for a game called Unbroken.
Oh, really?
So you should probably look into that if you like that game. It seems from what it seems like it's kind of like it's going to be kind of in that same vein of game, but space.
Yeah.
So I backed it because I'm going on a whim that I'll like Vindication, so I went and
it's very Euro-y.
That's what I've heard, but that's not a bad thing
but
anymore.
To me, it has decent theme for it.
Yeah.
But this expansion just adds to it. Like it doesn't fix anything. It doesn't.
Good.
It just adds. A little bit more to.
Yeah, and that's the thing about expansions for me is like, if it's like, man, this game sucks. Well, here's an expansion that fixes that. It's like, yeah, that makes me mad because like I spent money on this thing and it should have worked the first time. So to me, a good expansion just adds more to an already great game.
Right. Yep.
Good deal. My number 4 is a smaller. Well, it's not really a smaller expansion, but it doesn't quite. It doesn't dramatically change the game, but it just kind of opens it up to a more like a better world. And it's the Pearlbrook expansion for Everdell. Everdell was already a fantastic worker placement card tableau building game. that had wonderful artwork, great mechanisms, and then theme to boot. They've actually announced they did on Kickstarter for like a dual Kickstarter or dual expansion. But Pearl Brook was the first one that came out that added like the aquatic side, which was basically just the left side of the board, and you had like a frog ambassador worker that he's the only one that could go there to basically get the benefits of the location. So
right.
Like, and it added a new resource, which were pearls, which were like super valuable. And the thing about Everdell is just I really love that world, and I like the artwork, and just that it's like so seamlessly tied into the game that it doesn't make it any more complex. It almost feels like, oh, this came with the base game. So you have it on the side, then you use your Frog Master to go to certain locations, and then now you could do the benefits of that, which help you on your mainland. It's a really good expansion. Like, I can't remember the name. I think it's like Firecrest and something like that for their other ones that are going to kind of be just like that, just different areas of the world.
That would be a cool name for
an expansion.
For an expansion,
yeah.
With Pearl Brook and the
Firecrest. And then there's another one that it's like a volcano and like a mountain, I feel like. But Everdell was just kind of a huge hit and a huge success for that Tableau style game, and Pearl Brook added more cards and just new locations that you can actually go to. So
I've never played
Everdell. I think you would really like it.
Yet.
And
Yet.
Yeah, right. And so Everdell was already great, and Pearl Brook just added a little bit more to it. So I think it's a really, really solid expansion. So that's my number 4, Pearl Brook.
All right, my number 3 is a I guess a small box expansion.
Okay.
And it just adds more. It doesn't really change a whole lot. And it's called Shadow Veil. It's an expansion for Valeria Card Kingdoms.
Okay.
And it brings in some like the vampires and werewolves. It's kind of got a loose deal as far as that goes. So it's did you ever play Card Kingdoms?
Yeah, I thought we played it. Is it the Machikoro?
Yeah,
the one where I just slaughtered both.
Well, it brings in extra monster groups. It brings in vampires and werewolves. It brings in more dukes and locations and stuff. Which
good deal.
Some of them may have been already because I had everything mixed in. So you played with some of them.
Yeah.
So what it does, it just brings in more stuff. I think the vampire.
Oh yeah.
Group that
they were there. Yep.
And then there might have been the Lycans that were like, I don't know if we didn't get the Lycans
no, we didn't
out,
get the
but that was
Lycans
like
out.
the werewolves and stuff. But it just added more. And I like Valeria Card Kingdoms well enough, and those were some cool, because I think the vampires were the ones that, when you beat that last one, you got, I can't remember what the special ability was, but the last one had a really good special ability. And then it added your dukes and added some of your domains. Which you were the domain guy, I think.
Yeah, I was.
You did the last time.
Yeah, I was. I went all for that.
But it also added some new citizens. I can't remember which ones got added. But it's just what, they have Shadow Veil. They had Fire and Ice, I believe, or Frost and Fire. I can't remember what it was called. But those expansions that come out every few years, and there's going to be one coming out this next year, is just adding more depth to the cards and stuff.
Anything to a game like that, it's similar. It reminds me kind of like of Edge of Darkness, where it's like just more content and just only. Because like it's not like it's going to complicate the game any. Right. It just gives you that much more variety,
and it's not changing anything.
Exactly.
There's not. It's not changing the game. It just gives you more options.
Yep.
And they change maybe within their abilities, but it's not changing the core mechanics.
Yeah, you're like, oh crap! So with this expansion, I have to play it this way. It's like no. Right. Like it's just a new kind of ability that you can do.
Yep.
Good deal. My number 3 is by far the most expensive expansion that I have on here, and I actually really hate how expensive this expansion is. But it is the Rivalry expansion for Roll for the Galaxy. This is like $100 expansion because it comes with basically 2 modes to play the game. So you have one mode, and I cannot remember for the life of me what they were called, but one mode added like a market that got thrown in. So now you have these special dice. Because of customizable dice that get put in, and so you roll those, and those are like dice that you can have like special abilities for, and you, as a player, can send your dice, like, because you get new ones added, you can send your dice over there to do like a trade kind of deal with them, and then you get these abilities. But one side is you have to be able to give, like, you have to do a trade. So it's like I have to be able to give something up, and then for the other die, that's what I will get in return.
Right.
So, I mean, the reason why it's so expensive is because it's these big, bulky dice that have the different faces that you can pop in, and I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, that comes with it. I mean, it adds a little bit more, new locations and things like that. But the big one was the market, and then the customizable dice. But with that side, you have all the dice are kind of the same, and you roll those, you line them out. It's like, okay, so here's what I can take when I go to do a trade action. It's really interesting because they go basically on a track, and then eventually they will come off, and you'll get abilities for that. And then they have the second mode, which gives you your own personal dice that you can customize. So kind of has like that Dice Forge mentality, and it almost feels like, I mean, yeah, I feel like the quality is like just as good for these pieces. So you have your own dice that you can slowly upgrade to a side, and you'll roll that and then get the benefits for it. The reason why that it's number 3 out of the best is because the previous expansion to Roll for Galaxy, Ambition, I don't feel like it changed the game all that much. It gave you end game goals, and then gave you a black and orange die. Where Rivalry drastically opened up the game, and I'm curious to see how they're, because there's Race for the Galaxy and a bunch of expansions for that. This one, like, having the market, being able to trade, like, do like a trade action, being on both sides of, because you can put on one side and then you get that if people trade, and vice versa. It just opens up, especially a lot more player interaction, because Roll for the Galaxy really doesn't have any, like, in any way. So I think that just that sheer customization of the market and then of the customizable dice really opened up the strategy for Roll for the Galaxy. And I mean, who doesn't like customizable dice? Right. Like, the only thing that bums me out is just how expensive it was, just as, off the market. But I think that I probably, and you can play with both sides, but you really shouldn't. You should just pick, okay, we're going to do this mode or this mode, and just kind of leave it at that. I think that otherwise it becomes too complicated. But I think, I really like the market, like, side. If I had to pick the two, I think the market is kind of my favorite, because just it opens up more kind of dialogue between players. So that's my number 3, Rivalry for Roll for the Galaxy.
All right, my number 2 is an expansion I just got like a week ago.
Neat.
And I've played this expansion twice. Because I've done it solo just to mess with it a little bit, but it's awesome just how it steps out. And it's Pestilence. It's the expansion for Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea.
Oh, okay.
And what it adds, one part of this I'll never touch, because it adds a 7th player.
Oh, God.
And running 6 in that game would be, we ran a 6-player game back when I played it that first time.
Yep.
And it was fine. It just took 3.5 hours or so. And as a 7th player, I probably won't use that. But what is awesome about the expansion is it adds, which you said you played it. You know how all the
I played it at 3, though.
Okay, all the ships have those little stands that hold around. Well, this comes with 2 different kinds of land. This comes with a floating continent.
Okay.
So you actually have a continent, a big continent that's on stands that you can move up onto.
That's cool.
And then there's a sunken continent. So that has this piece of plastic that's like see-through bluish purple.
Okay.
That sets down, and you go on there, and it's like,
that's pretty neat.
It's supposed to show like subterranean.
Yeah.
So you're up in the air. So there's 3 levels.
Yeah.
And then it brings in 2 new races, the merfolk, or the merfolk and the birdfolk. Birdfolk and Merfolk. I don't know.
Man, how clever.
Yeah. So they already had some pretty interesting.
It's some pretty interesting
people.
ones. Yeah.
I always was the undead. I like the
Man,
the
I can't remember
skeletons.
what I played. The Lions? I think I played the Lions.
Yeah, they had that. But so it's all asynchronous. Everybody has their own abilities, all that stuff. It's a pretty complex game.
Yeah.
Seeing as though this is from the company that does all the tiny epic games.
Yep. It's got alms in them. Yep.
Yeah, and then it's just like, bam! We're going to go from the smallest game to the biggest game. Because when I got my copy, I got the playmat with mine, and it's probably would take up most of this table.
Yeah. It's a big game, and then I mean it's hard to store because you have all your cardboard strongholds, your cardboard ships.
Right.
I mean it's pretty cool. It's been a while since I played Heroes of Land, Land, Air, and Sea, and I don't remember caring for it, and I attribute it to playing with 3.
I think an even number would be good.
That's probably what it was. So I'd like to try it again with more, but I mean, I'll probably just never go grab it again.
Well, I have it,
and you have it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's it does again. It does what an expand. It doesn't change the base. I like how it adds layers.
That's really cool. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Having the sky in the underground.
Sea. Yeah,
you can kind of do stuff with because that when you're trying to lay your towers, that makes it a little bit different when if you put a tower up on there, a tower below ground or whatever. So, but yeah, it's gonna get more love for sure. Like I said, I've only played it twice solo, and not the solo game. It's like me walking through a 2-player, just to test it out and see how it works. But I just know it's gonna fit in there. That's why I went ahead and put it in.
Awesome.
But yep,
good deal.
Pestilence.
My number 2 would be my number 1 had my number 1 not done an expansion the way it did, and it'll make more sense. But my number 2 is the Dalgard's Academy expansion for Tricarion. So you've never played Tricarion, right? You haven't played any Mind Clash game, I don't think.
I think I'm about ready to try at some point, though.
I would try Tricarion before Anachrony.
Yeah. That's kind of what I've thought, too.
So, I mean, they're both kind of complex, but I will still say these Mind Clash games are not as complex as a Fatal Lasarda game, but they're up there. Now, Tricarion is about stage magic. Like, every time I keep saying spells, it's not they're called tricks. You're actually doing, like, 1950s, like you're doing... Yeah, you're doing, like, illusions, but it's not real magic. Like, think the Prestige. And... with the Dalgard's Academy, first of all, the collector's edition is what I got, and it came with like 3 other. It came with a solo variant, which is incredibly involved. And then another expansion that I can't quite remember, but it was a smaller one. But the Dalgard's Academy one was really, really cool because it added an academy, and what you could do with that is there were like rooms that you could that you can go into, and you can like practice your spells in that, which gave you like you gotta practice your spells, which gave you the ability to be better and like kind of get a boost when you perform the spell. So it's like if I perform the same trick that I'm practicing, I get like an extra point of fame or money because hey, I practiced it, so it's a better performance. But you can also do another one where you could like teach your tricks. So now it's like you're going to get a constant upkeep because now you're teaching it to people who are thematically going out and doing it. Right. So you get the praise for it, but you can never perform it again. So you had rooms, different levels of rooms that would give you better benefits. Then you also, it came with another assistant because the game has 3 assistants, like a stage, like it was like a manager, an assistant, and there's a third one I always forget, like an engineer, and then the 4th one came with like a prestige, and he's just like he like follows. He's like, hey, you're the greatest. But the game came with like upgrades that over time you could pick and give it to him, and they were just special abilities that if he was helping out, you got these buffs for it. It is quite an involved... This is one of those expansions that drastically added more to an already complex game. This is one expansion that I would be like, learn Tricarion a little bit before throwing this in there. The other ones, like the smaller one, you could probably add pretty quickly, but this one is like... You already have to manage so much on the main board. Now you have a whole other sideboard that you have to understand, well, what do I want to do with these tricks? How do I want to do that? Do I want to pay for this assistant? And because he starts out free,
right?
But then as you start getting more more abilities, then he becomes expensive, and you lose fame if you can't pay your people because they're out walking around being like, well, that guy fucking sucks. I did everything for him and he won't pay me. But it's pretty rough because I know Anachrony is about to get the Fractured in Time expansion. Anachrony already had the Doomsday module and things like that, but I flip back and forth between which one I like better. Like, because theme, the end of the world sci-fi, time travel theme, or the 1920, 30s, stage magic. It's like, they're both really cool themes. This was a pleasant surprise, because initially I was going to do a solo run-through for it with all the expansions, and I was like overwhelmed by how much I was trying to do, and eventually I just did a no run-through review for it all. But yeah, that's my number 2, Dogguards Academy for Tricarion.
All right, do you have any
for your number 1?
Yes, on my number 1.
Is it? Oh God.
I mean,
probably not the expansion to Marvel Champions. I don't know.
No. So Shadows of Brimstone.
Oh, okay.
Is one of my favorite games, and what makes it stand out is its big otherworld expansions. So it's a whole nother dimension and area you travel to, right? Well, when the Forbidden Fortress came out, Kickstarter came out, another otherworld got added, and it was called the Forest of the Dead.
Oh, okay.
So now we have, and the Forest of the Dead is like this limbo forest between worlds. Yes.
Okay.
Shadows of Brimstone, Forest of the Dead. Yes. But what makes this so cool, and it's probably the coolest otherworld, I think, to date, because
you really like what, the derelict ship?
The derelict ship, like when you bring your cowboys onto a spaceship with zombie astronauts. Yeah.
God, yeah.
But this one, it's a dead world. You like Forest of the Dead, obviously.
Yep.
But you can, you know how you get the encounter cards, and then there's you get the epic threats or the regular threats, medium threats for when the bad guys pop out.
It's been a long time, I think so.
Well, what happens in the Forest of the Dead ones is you're going to be fighting undead versions of any of the monsters you have in your collection. So when you pull a deal, they're going to come out undead.
Okay.
Which is cool in itself, right? But the coolest part is if you've been running a long campaign and you're supposed to keep track of your characters, right?
Yeah.
So if you've had a character die at some point, there is a encounter in the Forest of the Dead, if you hit it, that makes you fight
your dead
the
character.
Undead version of one of your dead people that has died.
That's pretty neat.
So my guy is Paco El Taco. He's a Mexican bandito.
You racist.
We were trying to come up with silly names. So he's a drunk.
Oh, you think racism Mexican is funny?
I like tacos. So if he would have died, then we would have had an opportunity to fight the undead version of him, and he'd come out. I think it multiplies your life point, and you have to. His weakness is probably, I don't know what they do, because we haven't actually.
Patrol.
I haven't actually fought, because that's just a random deal. We haven't actually done it yet, but it's just the possibility, and then being able to fight the undead version of any. Right now, does it change how they fight? Being undead? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, it's just nuts. Like the encounter deck is.
Now the other worlds, that's if you went through the portals that you went. Okay.
But this is one of them. So when you're going to another world, if you go through a portal, you have a stack of otherworld cards. So all the other worlds you own are there, and you randomly pick one. That's where the portal goes. You don't know.
Okay.
Off the top of your head, so you just randomly pick one.
Yeah.
So the more other worlds you have, the more.
How many are there?
Oh God. Derelict Ship, Forbidden Fortress, or not Forbidden Fortress. Well, it can be Forbidden Fortress, yes, because I use it as another world. Gotcha. Then there's the swamps. There's Targa, Tradera.
So a lot.
Yeah. There's a bunch, and then there's this last expansion, the Shadows of Brimstone Adventures.
Yeah.
That is supposed to come out next year. It probably won't.
Right.
But it has more emphasis on, because when the first 2 core sets came out, it was the City of Ancients and the Swamps.
Swamps of Death, yep.
But those were the 2 weakest Otherworlds.
Okay.
Because they were core sets, and the other ones had all gotten fleshed out a little bit.
Gotcha.
So these adventures are, it's a standalone game.
Okay.
But it also fleshes out Targa and the Swamps.
I see.
It turns Targa into like a Valhalla. Like Targa all along has been a Valhalla.
Oh, okay.
Otherworld. And then the Spanish conquistadors of the swamps of, you know. So anyway, this one's unique in the fact that's why Blasted Wastes and the Canyons, those are the other worlds. But just because of being able to fight undead versions of stuff and possibly fighting your dead characters that you had through the campaign, that's why that's
pretty
out
cool.
there. It's kind of neat.
Pretty cool. Good deal. You have any guess on my number 1? Probably not. You've never played the game.
I've never played it.
Mm-mm.
See, I would have guessed Fenris, but that was 2018.
That was 2018. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So my number 1 is the late pre-classic period for Teotihuacan.
Oh, okay.
And this game, or this expansion, bumped Teotihuacan from a 9 to a 10 for me, because the reason why I mentioned that it was better than Dalgard's Academy is because Teotihuacan is a modular expansion, and I personally think that those are the best kinds of expansions, because you'd be like, oh, we'll add this one to make this game different. Or this one. And this added individual player powers, so everyone felt unique. Everyone had a really cool ability, and some of them had like a really good one, but a downside to it as well. Like one of them that I had is I could only collect masks, but I got like a bonus for having like different sets of masks for it, which was awesome because there were a bunch out on the board. It added a 4th track that you can go up on, which gave you like permanent like abilities instead of just the one-time bonus for, because like in Teotihuacan you have the 3 that is like, oh, this one gives you points, this one gives you cocoa, and this one gives you resources. This one was like, as you go up you get permanent abilities.
Right.
It added more, technologies. It added a new way to build the pyramid. It added like events, not like events that you just draw, but it's like, oh, for this round, for this cycle, like here's an ability, meaning that like that you could, one of them was like you can only go a max of 2 spaces around the board, which or you could only go like 2 to 4 spaces. You couldn't go 1 or 3. It drastically like changed the way you had to play. So there were all those, and I mean, who doesn't love unique player powers?
Oh, of course.
Like,
that
so
makes the game.
Yeah, like a 4th permanent ability track was really cool. I was the only one that went through it. The unique events, the different way, because like the way you build the pyramid, one is still pretty cool, but then if you want a different way of doing it, that's there. So just every single module was just awesome, and then none of them were so complex that if you threw them all in, you'd be like, oh, now it's overwhelming. No, like, I mean, you can like, you just have the freedom to pick how you want to play, and Teotihuacan was already
How complex is the base game?
Not really,
because
at all.
I mean, it looks
busier than it actually is. It's really pretty like straightforward. It's a dice worker placement game, and
because I have Zolkin.
Yeah, if you can understand Zolkin, you can get
it yet either.
Oh, I thought you played Zolkin.
Is that the one with the? Oh yeah,
that's the It's the gear. I was like, I thought you did play it. So if you can understand Zolkin, then you can.
I was thinking of something different.
Then you can understand Teotihuacan.
I'm just thinking for my wife.
That's I mean, your wife's I was gonna say surgeon, but a pharmacist. I think she'll be able to handle how to place dice on the board. But that's the thing is like, it's not like your typical like voyages where you roll your dice and that's what you got. No, like your dice all start on a certain number, and as you do certain locations, you level them up, and then that just makes them more powerful. But at a certain time, when they go from 6 to 1, then they like die, and then you go up on like the death track, which still gives you benefits, and then you can like ascend and get like a special ability for it. It's
gotcha.
Teotihuacan is like phenomenal, and this expansion just elevated it even more. And then they announced another expansion in 2020 called Shadows of I pronounce it Zittle. It's like XITIL or LE or something. So Shadows of Zittle, which apparently is going to be like just another module where it's like, hey, here's more events, here's more player powers, things like that. So yeah, I mean, I think the late pre-classic period is the best expansion for 2019 for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like we're starting to see solid expansions coming out instead of just over bloated ones. Like, I mean, here's the thing: is like none of the Arkham Horror, none of the mansions made it on my list because it's like, I mean, it's another expansion. You know, it doesn't really do a whole lot different. Not that they're bad; it's just that these 5 and then your 5 drastically changed the game or made the game even like elevated it even more. So
I thought about putting the what's the one that put you? I can't think of the name of the Mansions of Madness expansion. The one where you get out on the vehicles, on the train or on the boat, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I can't think of the name of it, but that I thought about putting that because it got you
away from
yeah. But,
I mean, and that would have been fine too. But I just think that we've seen so much of those. That'd be like putting an Eldritch Horror expansion on. Right. It's like okay, like I mean, there are stuff better than others, but here, I mean, these 5, I mean, elevated all these games. So that's our 2019 expansions. Let us know what expansions you thought were the best in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching this, and if you like this video, then click the subscribe button below to enjoy any video that I put out. And right next to that subscribe button is a little bell. Click that so you get notified of whenever I actually upload these videos. If you want to support the channel, you can definitely visit my Patreon page. The link is in the description below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.